Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and hanging over to my side here is Mr. Brian E. Roach, and we are prepared to talk about the Steelers and the Bills this upcoming Sunday, 1 o'clock at Buffalo. But before I do that, I always have to ask my colleague and my pal over here, how you doing?
The refs stink.
It didn't even start yet, but we already know that.
I'm just getting warmed up because, people complain about me complaining about the refs, so I'm gonna keep going. The refs stink.
People complain about us talking about breakfast food, but I had an exceptional. I don't get McDonald's too often, man. Do you do any of the sausage biscuits or McGriddles or Egg McMuffin? Just Red Bull. You just ingest Red Bull, sugar-free Red Bull. It's like
I could just intravenously inject this. The way the world has been going lately.
Toast to you, man. I'm doing the coffee. I know it's the sludge you don't like.
Yep.
I don't have a particular coffee that I gravitate towards. I'm not a Starbucks guy. I'm not a Dunkin' guy. And as far as my Keurig, at home, I got everything you could find in there. It's like just inject that into my veins. So, but I was just talking. I was a little impressed. I usually don't get by there. They cut off. If you remember the movie Falling Down, they cut off that breakfast line, and then Michael Douglas went crazy. That's me too, except I just don't carry high power weaponry with me or a baseball bat or anything to take out people. So, oh man, but everyone's felt like that, either with that or the ice cream machine at McDonald's at one point or another. I'm not a regular there either, but it's like anytime I've ever gotten anything, it's definitely not breakfast. And I get it. Somebody's gonna be like, my McDonald's over here has all day breakfast. Well, good for you, dude. It's like, you know what I mean? But anyways, we got some football, man. I was on earlier this week. Well, within the last week, I talked to our friends, the Aussie guys. Check that out on that podcast. A little bit of a preview for the Steelers season. We've got actual football coming here with Thursday night football, Tampa Bay and the Dallas Cowboys. So we got actual things to talk about. Fantasy football ramping up. We've got MyBookie, where we'll talk about that a little bit later with the promo code you could join and get in on some sports betting. And I was also a guest. Got some friends, believe it or not, in Buffalo Bills land. Not only the Bills Mafia people, but also the Rockpile Report. So shout out to those guys. I may have missed. I've been busy the last couple days, but that show went somewhere. And you could hear the thoughts back and forth. They're not exactly the most confident folks about this game either. I couldn't give them a confident answer on a prediction. Of course, we didn't do our season prediction, Brian, where we go through the calendar and just say win, 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 win. Because, it feels a little harder to do that this year, too, when they say the strength of schedule is as hard as it is. But the one thing we're most disappointed about, I'm going to see if you caught on to this, they caught on to this. This is like the rubber match with the Steelers and Bills. So this is 3 years in a row that they're playing each other, and The Steelers flopped in the last two. And those games were in prime time, and this one's not. It's just a 1 o'clock. However, if you go and you look at those maps, I forget the website, but there's somebody that shows all the coverage regionally. This one's being seen by over half of the country on CBS on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. So still a pretty high-profile game, but...
Is it shown in Denver?
I can find out for you. I actually, you know what? I don't know, because the Broncos would usually play. What would the local time be there? Like 2 o'clock or something like that when they play. But it would be 4 o'clock on the East Coast. No thoughts.
I don't know. Time change makes my head hurt. I don't know.
I had to look this up for you. Sorry for the delay, folks. But if you want to see this, 506sports.com. I don't know that a lot of people still know that this site's there, but I don't know if it's just primarily NFL, college football, Major League Baseball. They do these maps with all the regional coverage, and we republish these ourselves at the end of the week, usually the day before the game. If you head over to steelcityunderground.com, you're trying to figure out where can I watch, where can I listen. I try to get about as thorough of a rundown for everyone as possible. We have all of the Steelers flagship and affiliate radio stations listen there too. Some of that stuff's buried on the Steelers site for whatever reason, but you can find it there too and on their app. But you're good in Denver, my friend. It goes right across the top of the United States. Like it cuts off a little bit in Virginia and Tennessee, and then a little obviously in California, the Southwest there, Texas. But there is huge coverage for this game. My point in saying all this wasn't necessarily, hey, where can I go find the game or anything? It's probably pretty important information for everyone. But my main point was this is still going to be seen by a lot of people because this is a rubber match. And I think this one is I think it's going to be close, and I think it's going to be a back-and-forth battle.
I don't disagree with that. I think I know we've posted about this in the back rooms, but I don't know if we've said anything on air or on on the website. But pretty much nobody thinks they're going to win, as far as the experts go. Right? It's like ranging from moderately close to complete blowout. Yeah, I know experts might, but
air quotes.
But I don't think it would be a big surprise to see the Steelers win. First of all, there's a lot of reasons for that. It's early in the season, so nobody is in prime form. But you've got a lot of guys who are trying to, solidify even in their own minds their right to be where they are. Right? We got rookies and second-year players and guys who are just beginning to get their starting roles who all want to prove I deserve to be here. I just think nobody knows for sure what to expect out of this team, and that could be a good thing right now. So I don't know. I won't be surprised if they don't win the game. Bills are a very good team. I won't be surprised if they do win the game because I think I've said this all along. I think the Steelers are going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Yeah, and I'm actually trying to look up a couple of things here to support that. One of the things, obviously, let's talk about this one. This is the elephant in the room, obviously, because we both have TJ Watt jerseys on.
Yes, we do.
My goodness, could anybody bleed a penny and milk this story that was a non-story that was created basically in the fantasy of people's minds? Those people would be the ones who get the advantage of advertising dollars or just want the attention of your likes and shares and things of that nature. I think I've even seen a couple of people who listen to this program. Somebody was, Joe, I was blowing up. I can't take it anymore with just the ridiculousness. There's a couple accounts. There's one that's out there in particular. It's like, they have a very nondescript name. They don't put Joe or Brian to the story. And then they say, my sources. We don't even know who you are, let alone what your sources are or your source. And their story flip-flops every day. And it's something with TJ Watt. And people, there's just some gullible people who share this stuff all over. Then they start sharing it into these various Steelers groups that got me just really riled up. And it's not even that I see it. Usually I can just keep scrolling by something. It's I don't have time to argue with people. But it was about the 8th time I saw it yesterday. And it was the sources say that TJ's doing this or that. He's been there. Yeah, he hasn't been doing contact drills. Is there some squabble there? TJ hasn't said it. Kevin Colbert hasn't said it. Art Rooney hasn't said it. Mike Tomlin hasn't said it. And then now he's practicing and getting ready to play under the contract that he currently has. Will something get done? I think we went into this whole offseason. We went in from January thinking the Steelers do this type of business in the final year of a contract. He's on a 5th-year option, which some people can't even get that right. They're reporting things from their sources. He's on the 5th. They could tag him next year. Yeah. But some people are like, oh, yeah, they've got him under contract for 2 more years.
No, they don't.
No, not necessarily. And there's too many comparisons with Lev Bell, too. Lev Bell didn't even show up 2 consecutive training camps. Then teased showing up, and then he did for the season 1 year. And then the following year, he didn't show up at all. And then he kept teasing us every other week. like 4 weeks in, he's on a jet ski somewhere. He's putting out rap albums talking about his contract demands. I don't see TJ doing any of that stuff. He's still there with his teammates, and now he's practiced. The Steelers like to get these contracts done. Some people think that they're cheap. Well, they didn't give Bell or Brown the money. That's just total BS, and I almost let the whole word out. Brown was given the contract over Mike Wallace, who was sitting on the sidelines pouting. Brown had not earned that contract up to that point. The Steelers were doing that based off of potential. And then they ended up restructuring and making some of his money guaranteed and things of that nature at that point. And I know I want to talk about the Bills and not all this, but this is kind of the point that even your national media and experts were pulling and dragging some of these stories, including Ryan Clark, who didn't get his story right whatsoever, former Steelers safety. And it's like, dude, they paid AB. AB just went completely nuts, and then they had to get rid of the problem on their team. And everybody acknowledged he said I gotta go trade me, and everybody acknowledged that. And then it's like, oh, we forgot about that. They just didn't pay the guy. That's just malarkey. They've paid Ben. They've paid Marquise Pouncey. They've paid Lamar Woodley. Antonio Brown's contract, among the highest at their positions at that time. The Steelers don't go out in free agency and spend because they spend the money on the players they end up drafting and retaining. But you hear people say, well, they're too cheap in free agency. They're too cheap. They didn't keep Bud Dupree. No, they don't have cap room. They don't sign any free agents. They don't draft well. This is just ridiculous. And all of these storylines, I think we could put the thing to rest. I think eventually, maybe even shortly after we're done here, Brian, we're going to hear something about this. We're either going to hear it by Sunday or we're not, because the Steelers don't do contracts in season either.
Right.
What is the holdup on it? I don't really care what the holdup is. This isn't a guy they're going to let walk away, and I'm not sure he wants to walk away either.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the bottom line. I mean, he's shown that he wants to be here by the actions that he's taken. Yes, he has to make some business decisions and has throughout training camp to prevent himself just being hurt and being, costing himself that negotiating power. And I'm sure his agent was advocating for that all along. But it's just the way that the Watts, not just TJ, but the Watts in general seem to do business. I mean, just think about JJ. There's a loyalty to the team that they have been drafted by that they tend to have. Yes, they want to have their contracts be reasonable. Yes, they want to get the most they can get. But I think, it's a combination of things, whether it, like you said, whether it's because of quote unquote guaranteed money, whether it's something else in the way that the deal is structured, whatever it may be, they will find a way to get it ironed out at some point. It'll either be before Sunday or it will be before they have to tag. That's the way it is.
And there may even be an exception to the rule. Maybe Troy Polamalu was this. I thought his came all the way up to like Sunday at 11 a.m. when they.
Yeah, it was really late. One year that he got it is really late.
It may have even crept past week one. If I were to go back and look at the transaction dates and times and wire or whatever the heck, but typically, and even like Woodley, they tagged Woodley and then ripped everything up, extended. They've done deals with Tuitt, Hayward. These guys have all been very well paid. It's just preposterous. And because they draft well, regardless of your feelings on what or how they draft, not every draft pick works. Not every draft class works out. It just doesn't work that way. But the Steelers seem to hit on a higher percentage of those working than a lot of other teams. Then they got to eventually pay all these guys. You look at that class. It was TJ, Juju, James Conner, Cam Sutton. How are you going to keep all of those guys when you basically have the first four all playing at a decently high level, or at least some type of defined role? In the case of Sutton, it took him a little bit longer to maybe get on the field. Not because of him. It's because of everybody else that was around him. So I they didn't give anything to James Conner, but James Conner didn't actually deserve that just because of injuries and stuff. That relationship had to break off there. TJ deserves it. We'll see what happens with Juju in the future. Juju's market wasn't what he thought it was going to be, and he was going to be gone. And I think he's really an afterthought in this offense, and I think it's something that's going to make a difference here, maybe in this very game too, Brian. So let's talk a little bit about this. Historically, the Steelers lead this series 16 wins to 11 losses. They're better at home, 10-3 at home, where the Bills lead 8-6 in their place at now it's Highmark Stadium, not to be confused with any Highmark anything in the Pittsburgh area, including Highmark Stadium, which is a soccer stadium down by Station Square there in Pittsburgh. So Orchard Park, New York, natural grass, 71,000 people. Expect that to be packed. They finally have fans for a regular season game. I think they got some for the playoffs last year. I think it was Stephon Diggs was just talking about that. I saw one of the pressers with the players. So I'm trying to think here, where do we really start? I guess, you know what, a lot of people are complaining about too. Let's go to the offensive line. That seems to me to be one of the better areas. Kendrick Green finally named starting center. It's not just
finally.
A hat.
Oh, finally.
I know. It's like not just a hat rack. We told all of you guys weeks ago. If somebody was like, oh, he's been demoted. Like, get out of town. He wasn't demoted. He was never listed on there. You just didn't pay attention. It's like whatever you see fit to print or publish. He got a thumb injury or something, and it's like, okay, now what's the gig here? Everybody freaking out. We'll go through the rest of the injury report, too. Alex Highsmith with a groin. They were both limited. Tyson Alualu with an elbow did not practice. All of a sudden, everybody freaks out. The very first practice, a Wednesday practice, they still have two more. They'll have a walkthrough, and then we'll see who ends up playing, who ends up not playing. I've seen people complain and say these guys don't keep themselves in condition for being millionaires. That's preposterous. You have to list if these guys get a blister, it goes on the injury report now. Because you ever see the Patriots injury reports? Bill Belichick had gotten like slapped by the league, maybe fined or something for not listing people on there or everything. So now he lists like 20 injuries every single practice, and you can't figure out what's for real there. So I'm not concerned yet with any of the injury report. Of course, we're here on Thursday ahead of a Thursday practice and a Friday practice for anyone maybe listening this or catching this show a little later heading towards game time. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that. Usually Steelers.com always has that information up. 4 p.m. is the golden time, folks. I'm going to teach everybody something. That 4 o'clock Eastern, that's the NFL daily deadline for any of the paperwork and things and reports that go out. So usually if there's any type of injury reports, you're going to see it around then, at least for the Steelers. Steelers offensive line, Brian. We've talked about this maybe in brief, maybe a little bit more, but now it's official. Dan Moore, left tackle. Chooks is going to be playing on the right where he originally was. You got Trey Turner filling in for David DeCastro and Kevin Dotson coming in now as the new starting left guard. Kendrick Green will be the man in the middle, dotting that sentence or whatever we want to call it there. So how are we feeling about all this against Jerry Hughes, Ed Oliver, Star Lou Tulele, Mario Addison, etc.? I don't know. I kind of like Buffalo doesn't have like the weakest front seven. Tremaine Evans, the brother of Terrell, Matt Milano, Teron Johnson. Not exactly weak, but they've had their struggles in stopping the run game too. And it almost seems like they've had kind of a change of philosophy where defensive coach, much like the Steelers, and then now they're almost all like putting their eggs in the offensive basket, it seems. And the defenses, and my friends at the Rock Power Report don't necessarily like their offensive line too, but we'll get to that as well. Everybody complains about their offensive line.
Does anybody ever like their offensive line? Except for us when we do, right? When we're happy with them, we all like them, but me and Zach like our offensive line. So
my quick thought on the offensive line, since you're the offensive line man showing them all the love, will there be some growing pains? Absolutely. I'm least concerned about the interior. And if Dan Moore lives up here, a lot of people, are giving him a lot of flack because he's a 4th-round pick, but everybody loved Kevin Dotson and wanted him to play last season as a 4th-round pick as well. They may have pulled off another coup here, Kevin Colbert and company. If he plays just as well, I mean, I didn't necessarily have the biggest problem with Chooks last year. I'd rather leave him where he's experienced on the right side. I wish that would have been the way it played out in training camp so they got more reps together. But it is what it is. So if Trey Turner's the guy that he used to be, or at least at some level there, I think they'll run the ball just fine. Pass protection might be more of a problem, but curious to hear your thoughts on this because a lot of people are talking about starting 2 rookies on this offensive line, and I don't know. I'm not like super overly concerned at this point. There's question marks for me. It could be a problem later on. We don't know until we see him play.
I mean, the thing with offensive line play is communication and consistency, right? And so there are going to be bumps in the road as these guys start to play consistently together. As you mentioned, it would have been nice if this was the lineup throughout the entirety of training camp, because that gives them those reps, that gives them that innate sense of what the other guy's going to do, who's next to them, that has to grow over time on an offensive line. So it's not going to surprise me if there are some communication snafus in this game. It's not going to surprise me if there's some blown assignments in this game. It's not going to surprise me if that continues for a game or 2 after this game. But as this progresses, that's the caveat, if these are the guys that really are going to be the guys going forward, they will get better and they will get good. If they're terrible players, then they're terrible players, right? There's nothing you can do about it. But if the Steelers have done their job, and we don't think Kevin Dotson is a terrible player.
No.
We don't think Dan Moore is a terrible player.
No.
We don't think Chooks is a terrible player. We don't think Kendrick Green is a terrible player. We know that Trey Turner has not been a terrible player in his career. Doesn't mean he's not all of a sudden, gone off the ledge. But in theory, you look at these guys, and I don't see a group that is terrible. Horrible. I don't think they're terrible. But sorry, Charles Barkley. Anyway,
Sir Charles to you, pal.
Charles, yeah, whatever. But it will take them some time to coalesce. Ooh, big word, and gel, right?
I love the $5 words, Brian.
I got to get matriculate in there somewhere. So that they can matriculate the ball down the field and get it. I do think that they're going to have a better opportunity to run the ball. I don't think that Buffalo is going to run the ball much at all. I think this is going to be all on Josh Allen and what he can do. So, if the Steelers can pressure Allen, if they can keep him contained, if they do not allow him to run like a madman all over the place and escape the pocket, I think they can contain this offense to a certain degree. And then if they can also help their defense by allowing this young, inexperienced to a certain degree offensive line to do what offensive lines generally do best, which is run block, let Dan Moore and Kevin Dotson be the grown-ass men that they should be, and move some people. Maybe Najee Harris has a amazing game, and that will open up the passing game because everybody will be like, oh, my God, they're running right down our throats. So, I think there is certainly a pathway to victory here, and I think that the offensive line can be better than people expect, but don't be surprised if they screw up a couple times because they're going to.
Oh, and you've already said we'll have to reemphasize this is September football. As an extension of the preseason, and the Steelers are traditionally slow and sloppy in these first few games.
Oh, yeah.
Always. I always said that, and I said that, the same thing with the Seahawks. A few other teams are not going to look exactly. You look at week 1 football, I always laugh with the fantasy aspect of this. Everybody goes out in their waiver wires and starts grabbing whatever phenom looked like they had like a great game, and then that guy stinks the rest of the season. He had one good game from the beginning, but
well, my take on fantasy football.
Oh, I do, and it's not commonsensical like your other take just was.
Right. No, my take on fantasy football is if I'm playing fantasy football, my fantasy is to be a Rooney. Therefore, I am drafting all Steelers, and I don't really care because that's what I want. That's my fantasy, is to own the Steelers.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I was trying to use a big word there. I actually looked up this website. I'm going to use a whole bunch of these, although phenomenal. I use some of these in just regular.
Phenomenal is not a $5 word.
Yeah, I'm looking for, that's almost like $1.50 word, $1.50. Yeah, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. I was gonna say a little bit more about the Steelers offense here, but the $1.50 kind of coincides with you liking easy money. Well, thanks to MyBookie and their lock of the season. You got to get this in, too. Hopefully you're listening to this. The lock of the season is the Thursday night game that's coming up here. So the lock of the season means if either team scores in the NFL season opener, you win. If you didn't know, a game hasn't ended 0-0 since World War II. So this is a sure bet. Head to mybookie.ag, select the lock of the season, and if any team scores between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you win. The best bet you can make is the one you can't lose. So MyBookie is also playing host to several exclusive contests throughout the season, including this weekend, including the Thursday night opener, including their $100,000 super contest, and it only costs $10 to enter. I could do a lot of worse things, Brian, with $10. That's how I make a lot of my decisions with money. I just try not to make 10 decisions like that. And then I'm doing worse with $100 of my money. But hey, to each their own. $10 to enter the super contest. There's big money on the line this season. So don't wait to get in the game. Join now. Head to mybookie.ag today. Use our exclusive promo code here, Steel City. Instantly receive double your first deposit. That's double your funds to double your winnings. Again, that's promo code Steel City to receive double your first deposit and get started today. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Again, the promo code Steel City. I have a feeling you were just looking up the odds and numbers.
I'm signing up right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm signing up for mybookie.ag right now because I'm going to bet on there being a non-0-0 because I want free money. That's free money. Free money's good. Money.
And then you take that and you can play with the house and then go bet on the Steelers game. I don't know. I still think this is a sucker bet. I hate telling people that after a promo for our generous sponsor, MyBookie, that's been around for many years with us. We've had a relationship with, but 6.5, that's a tough one. I like the over-under on the game better. It's now at 48. So the 6.5, though, the Steelers are getting 6.5. That's a tough one, man. I could see this game being less than a touchdown in disparity.
Oh, yeah.
And the Steelers winning this if you're taking the points. So I hate to say that if there's any, Bills people that are listening to this. And if you are, welcome. We're very biased here, but
hi, Bills people.
I hate you idiots that jump through tables, but the rest of you are really cool.
I don't even care about those guys. I like the Bills fan base. I like Bills
for the most
people.
part, yes, absolutely. About 90% of them. There's about 10% of knuckleheads I had to deal with. They just got too drunk the last time they came down to Pittsburgh.
We all have our share of knuckleheads. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we do.
Mean, there's some Steelers fans that need to get a nice smack upside the head. So, it's okay. But as a general fan base, I like the Bills fan base. I like most of the Bills fans that I meet. There's a couple other fan bases that I feel that way about. And then, then there's the Browns.
There is. I was going to say, you got two franchises that maybe are back as a resurgence that hadn't done anything for the better part of 20 years. And there's one that, you feel kind of all right with. And then there's, the Browns fans. And I'm going to leave it at that because this show isn't about them. And
it's all right. We'll get trolled on that anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyways, 48 over and under. We're talking about this, too, with the Bills guys the other day on the Rock Power Report. It's like both of these teams scoring 20 apiece somewhere. Do you got a 24-21 type final for this game, and who would be the one that would be
kind of like the under on that? Like the under on that.
Yeah, I think so. It's tough.
To be clear, I'm not betting on that though. I like the under,
Brian,
but it's not free money. I'm not putting my free money on the Tampa Bay 0-0 thing. I'll bet that all day, 6 ways to Sunday. But no, I'm not.
Brian wants the safe bet there.
I want free money. Free money.
Well, in wrapping some of the Steelers' offense and still some of the criticisms coming over from the draft, etc. Najee Harris, I believe he's a player who creates yards. He's also someone that's going to be more involved in the pass game, and things are going to open up. We're going to see if they may even put 2 running backs on the field at the same time. We're going to see 2 tight ends out there. So Pat Freiermuth, who's also a very capable and willing blocker. Juju and Chase Claypool aren't chumps when it comes to getting involved and getting dirty in the run game, blocking, etc. I think this is all going to come together just fine, more than what people tend to believe. Ben, we'll see. Ben has to last the whole season. That's my only concern with Ben. I have no other concerns other than longevity throughout the whole season, and that includes him not getting dinged. A lot of people still believe he's been going down, getting hit like a piñata. That has not happened over the last 9 years or whatever since Bruce Arians left. He still hasn't caught up to the 5 years of Bruce Arians being in Pittsburgh. He's still been sacked more times in those 5 seasons with Bruce Arians. He's only like a few digits off now. It's like 200 something to the other 200 something. But that's crazy. It's been almost twice the amount of time now, and Ben still hasn't caught up to that figure. So the quarterback kill, he didn't get Brady killed last year, so I'm still distraught over that, but is what it is.
It is what it is.
Is what it is.
I didn't realize that our other young money boy was with the Bills now. I missed that. I forgot that. It's a reunion, and it feels so good. Yeah, I know. I know.
Well,
I forgot.
Manny Sanders running his mouth. How old's he now? 42.
712.
It feels like a minute since he's been around. I'm gonna look up how old is Emmanuel Sanders. He's got to be up to 33 or something like that. 34. He's 34. I was thinking that he came in the league the same time with AB, same class. So that was back in 2010. Man, time flies. It's really the not-for-long league, isn't it? Because some of these guys don't come. They might stay for their senior year in college, too. It's unlike some of the other sports. Like basketball, it's like, geez, LeBron James has been playing for 50 years because I don't even know that he graduated in high school before he got in the NBA. It's like some of these guys just have it's just like a pipeline. Same thing with baseball. It's like, I couldn't imagine being like maybe a junior or senior in high school, and it's like, well, you know what? I don't know. The Pittsburgh Pirates, you probably say no because it's the Pirates, but the Pittsburgh Pirates would like to, we're looking at this. We're drafting you, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't imagine that. It's like such a young kid compared to like the guys that have to at least have 3 years in college to be in the NFL. But comparing to the flip side of this, the Steelers, I had it up and I lost it. That's why I lost track. Emmanuel Sanders is on the other side of the line. The Rockpile guys weren't fond of their offensive line, and I was going to make note of that as well. We'll see how that lines up with the Steelers' defensive line because Chris Wormley is going to be out there. No Stephon Tuitt as of just yet. Hopefully he'll get back on the field. There's been some people criticizing that. Could you imagine saying last year they wouldn't have Mike Hilton and Steve Nelson and Bud Dupree and Stephon Tuitt? And it's like, well, they have pretty capable hands still in place. Now, Tuitt, he's not gone entirely. He's just not here for this game. You lose guys for a couple games here or there with injury. It's just life, It's the way it works. Taiso Lualu's still there. There's someone you didn't really want to lose.
He's on the injury report, too.
Yeah, he was as a DNP. But the Steelers, I was contemplating, Brian, how much they actually do traditional 3-4 and looking at the way maybe the Bills, Josh Allen, they still have Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, and Gabe Davis along with Emmanuel Sanders. It got 4 capable wide receivers just like the Steelers do. Mm-hmm. And Isaiah McKenzie's in there too as like their 5th guy. They have a stable of running backs that are just kind of like everymans. They're not anybody that really stands out. Devin Singletary's kind of underperformed. Zach Moss, who we thought in the draft would be a much better player, hasn't come around there. Matt Breida is new there, but he hasn't been seeing any touches. I'd never understood that. Maybe that was just a product of Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. I thought he was a capable player several years ago, but that's the thing with running backs. They flash for a year and then they can disappear. And then Tywan Jones. So not really any threats with Dawson Knox as a tight end. I know he's made some plays, gets open. Maybe I think a product of that last season was Avery Williamson having to jump in as the team's 3rd inside linebacker after Devin Bush and Robert Spillane get hurt. And I think that's the main difference that you're looking at here in the Steelers' defense and what they're going to achieve. Joe Schobert and Devin Bush are both intended to be on the field more often, where you don't have to bring Mike Hilton or extra DB or two onto the field. So we'll see how that ends up working out. Of course, Joe Hayden, Cam Sutton. They have Cam Sutton still listed as starting right corner. We'll see if Akello Witherspoon gets on the field or if it's more of a sub-package thing. They put him on the outside and then shift Sutton in and have Sutton playing close to 100% of the snaps. Mike Tomlin doesn't like to really move these guys off the field, especially Terrell Edmonds and Minkah Fitzpatrick. So those guys expected to have 100% participation. At least that's what I feel. You may see more 3-4, but the fact is, I think if Tyson Alualu's a little banged up, he would probably kick over and contribute in absence of Stephon Tuitt as he has in the past. And if he's a little more dinged up, you don't go a regular 3-4. They may not still go a regular 3-4. You might just have the extra linebacker and an extra DB. We know they like to, usually it would be Hayward to it, then Watt, and it would be Highsmith this year in place of Dupree. But they got the extra body with Melvin Ingram as well to toss into this equation. I really like those odds against anything but maybe 4 or 5 wide receiver type sets with the Bills attacking the Steelers defense.
Yeah, I want to note the one piece on the practice report that I'm not happy about is Alex Highsmith and the groin. Not that I really want to talk about Alex Highsmith's groin, because I don't. But, that feels like, so many things that kind of hobbled him a little bit at the end of last year. I feel like this is kind of a repetitive issue almost. I'm hoping that it's nothing. It's just a tweak, and we'll see. But that actually is concerning to me. And may make the Melvin Ingram pickup more critical if that is in fact anything ongoing. Hopefully it is not. But that bothers me a little bit. I agree with what you're saying. 5 wide receiver sets could be a potential. 5 wide sets could be a potential issue.
I think 4 will too. They're not very deep.
4. Yeah, but there's just, it's all going to be about whether they can get there quick, right? We all know that, although Joe Schobert basically just said, "Oh, TJ's in fine form," or whatever he said in the interview on.
Oh, I'm sure he is. Yeah.
What's he going to say? Oh, he's terrible.
Exactly. We say it all the time, but he does work out with them during the summer. He said he'd be ready to play in the parking lot on a moment's notice. I think was bastardized quote there.
I mean, if you can get some edge pressure between TJ and whoever's on the other side, if you can get Cam to be Cam and whoever else is out there just be doing what they can, right? I think they can get in and put pressure on Allen quickly, even in those big sets. So that means that the back end only has to hold up. Your backfield only has to hold up for a very short amount of time. If that's the case, then I'm okay. If they cannot get consistent pressure, if the Bills find a way to block the guys effectively, they're not good. That's not going to be a good look.
No, not at all. And, well, we'll see. I don't anticipate the Bills running the football all that well. That's just the thing. If that ends up happening against the Steelers, it can. You know what? I'll retract at least on this much. We're not in midseason form whatsoever with either of these two teams. So stuff's going to happen. That's just the way this shakes out with these early games. I think there could be some back and forth. You're not playing in Buffalo with snow. Contrary to prior belief, it's not going to snow in September there. Brian, the shocked face. I think the Steelers will be fine overall, and I think it'll be a competitive game. And I'm not willing to really say one team going to win or the other. We kind of had it both ways. The sky's not going to be falling with me no matter what happens in this game, because we've seen the Steelers get the brakes beat off of them against like the Patriots in a home opener or season opener situation. Not a home opener, because they don't ever get to play in Pittsburgh week 1 for whatever reason. It's like 7 straight years. But we've seen that, and then they end up being fine throughout the season as well. It's going to be gloom and doom or a stupid amount of excitement based on what ends up happening here. I think the biggest thing is you're going to come out of this game and realize I'm not expecting a blowout. I'm not expecting, anything out of the ordinary. You would have to have Ben throw 2 or 3 picks for this to really be a real sour taste and say, oh man, this season's going to be rough right out the gate. That's about the only thing. And still, unless that happens again in week 2 and then Ben all of a sudden becomes an interception machine that he wasn't last year, then that would be the only thing where I have a cause for concern going forward. I honestly what I would like to see end up happening here in Buffalo is that the Steelers actually get one of these victories. Then it's going to look like, whoa, this team, we've been overlooking them. We've been looking, and they've been kind of overlooking the Bills in the media too. It's kind of hard to overlook them given what they've done over the last few years, and Josh Allen and his huge contract and everything like that. I think the biggest thing will be containing Josh Allen. Quite frankly, we hadn't talked about him enough. I have a lot of respect for him as a quarterback. He's starting to really grow and mature. Reminds me of a young Ben, and he's mobile. So you got to just make sure he doesn't kill you, because otherwise I don't think they get a lot on the ground. And the Steelers become susceptible to some of these things, and they're going to try and spread some of it out and move some of these pieces. And, of course, get Schobert or Bush or somebody on a wide receiver or something. Everybody's going to go, oh, stupid coaching, this and that. And it's just, stop with that.
It's the way it goes.
It happens. It doesn't happen to just the Steelers. I remember that happened in a Chiefs game or something. Wasn't it like linebacker on like Antonio Brown or something like that many years ago? And it was like, I think it was Justin Houston actually. And I think it was AB, but whoever it was like, they never lived that down with the announcers, and I'm sure the Chiefs fans were given the same type of criticism. So anyways, one last thought here is officiating crew, John Hussey, who couldn't even manage that preseason game. They were throwing all those flags. Yes, and of course, and this is nothing against male, female, or I saw somebody else say alien when they were talking about one of the pool reporters. But Sarah Thomas tends to throw a lot of flags too from that sideline too. It's just more tendency than criticism. This whole crew is going to be in fine form. I wouldn't be surprised if there was 20 penalties in this game. I know we complain too much about the officials, but geez, think about this. When you listen for those of you old enough to know a CD and it would skip, that's the way the football game ends up being when the guy's getting away too much. You just can't even listen to the soundtrack. You can't listen to anything. It just keeps skipping and you don't enjoy it. And so I'm hoping for an enjoyable football game at the very least.
I'm so old that vinyl has come back.
I've got a record player, Brian. I've got one.
Anyway.
I've got some vinyl, man.
I started the show off by saying this. I'm going to end the show by saying this.
Yes.
The refs stink. They stink. They flat out stink. That, again, I'll repeat what I have said ad infinitum. That does not dictate the results of the game. The fact that they cannot do their jobs effectively and they're all terrible is not what causes the Steelers to lose games. The players lose or win their games 99.99999% of the time. Occasionally, a ref will make a call that
it's more like 80%, dude.
overturns the game. No, but see, I'm not going to go there. But at the same time, they all stink. They're terrible and they suck, and I don't like them. If I meet a zebra, I'll be nice to them and feed them some corn and tell them please go out to pasture and play. But leave football alone. You're terrible.
Do they have corn wherever zebras?
I don't know. It's a horse-looking animal.
The Serengeti.
How the hell do you feed a horse hay? You guys should give it hay.
Oats.
Maybe corn is a treat. I don't know. What do I know about
candy corn? That's evil stuff. Can we get on the page with that? We're heading into pumpkin spice season and Halloweeny stuff and candy corn.
Corn is the invention of the devil. It is wrong. Who the hell looked at corn and said this could only be made better by being completely made of sugar?
And we want it to stick everywhere in your mouth.
Anyway.
I know, just the thought of it. I'm not a big candy corn fan whatsoever. It's one of those things, you see a jar of it, and it's like, I haven't had this for a while. What's this like? Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's terrible.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. That's why there's always tons of it left every season. Anyway.
These are all big facts, folks. You're getting your money's
all right,
worth.
2%ers, 1%ers, and 2%ers. This is your time, man.
Yes,
this is your time to shine. And I'm working on something. Let me tell you, I'm working on something for the 1%ers and the 2%ers. I'm working on something for you guys. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm working on something.
Okay.
It might look something like this.
Ooh.
I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
That's
one percenters and 2%ers. Don't tell the other people. Don't tell them, because then that'll ruin your. When I figure it out, we'll figure it out. Anyway, wait. I want to finish my thought here.
Go.
Before you said something at the beginning of your tirade about the end of this game, that it doesn't matter what happens, it's not going to be jump ship. Yeah. And then you said you did add a caveat. If Ben throws like 2 interceptions and it's just terrible, even then, I don't care. This game is not a predicate on how the rest of the season will go. No. If they are the most dominant team on the field on Sunday and whoop the Bills' butts, it does not mean that's them for the rest of the season. If they stink out the place, that does not mean it's them for the rest of the season. This is the first game, which is still the 5th preseason game. And I will not know, nor will the rest of us really truly know what this football team is until sometime in October. Then we'll know where they're going to go and how they're going to go when we look at their consistent change in play for that period of time. If they are dominating now, and that would be great. I'm not saying it wouldn't be, but doesn't mean that that's where they're going to be, because this could be the 5th preseason game for the Buffalo Bills or whatever, and they
4th.
Just
yeah, they even have even less time put in.
Yeah, 4th
for the preseason. No,
don't stay away from bridges, folks. Stay away from cliffs. Do not overreact to how this game goes, no matter how much your heart hurts or your heart sings with joy. Either way, do not overreact. It's just game 1.
and if you happen to like your television set, it's just
Don't
game 1.
break it.
Don't break it yet. Wait closer to the Super Bowl, and then you get the fancy one with all the sales and stuff to go on, and then you have a reason to upgrade. Well, Brian, that'll put a wrap on the show for us. Thanks for joining me, my friend. The 2%ers hanging around, a little bit of extra entertainment there. Did we get everything in that people don't like about the show? I just want to make sure. We
Toast is horrible. I don't like it. I'm the host who doesn't like toast.
I think I rambled. So leave your reviews after we said all that. Leave your reviews. Talk about all kinds of other stuff. So it's the fun part, man. That's the fun part of doing this. I actually have fun doing it. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it anymore. So thank you for joining me, my friend. Hopefully we have some good things to talk about maybe later Sunday evening. Maybe we'll reconvene, or at least Monday morning we'll give you our couch.
Here's the fun part.
Deal. Yeah.
When we get to Sunday, and the next edition of this podcast, I will not be surrounded by this glorious environment.
No. What are you going to do?
I'll be in a hotel room in Denver.
Yeah. This is that the movie title, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
That's also a Warren Zevon song.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. I'm not going into music. I heard a fun fact on something with Simon and Garfunkel, and I'm going to butcher it because I can't remember it now, but it had to deal with, was it like a Tuesday night or a Wednesday morning? What did they really mean? Blah, blah, blah. So not getting into that. We'll put a bow on this. Thanks for joining us, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like to see a giveaway, you stole my thunder there. I was thinking I still have I have some hats to give away. If anybody likes the flat brim ones, I'm going to figure out where I'm going to do that at and how we're going to facilitate that.
No, 1%, 2%ers and 1%ers. The heck with giving it away all over the place. Let's give away stuff to the 2%ers and the 1%ers, who are the only ones that are still here listening to this anyway.
Yes, absolutely. So that's correct, and that is exactly what I was doing. I'm doing it at the end. They're the only ones that get to hear this information. The other people are left out.
Point.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah, they moved on to like kitten videos or something on YouTube. So yeah, I know. Leave your thoughts on the cat. His name's Brian. My name's Joe. Don't Devin Bush us here.
Cats all want to kill you.
They do.
That is what they are thinking. Every time they look at you, they think, I want to kill you.
My little guy does nothing but drop in front of my feet like every morning and then later at night. And it's like, I'm not paying attention to him. He's also a tuxedo cat, so he's like black with the white belly. So if I go into like walk into my bedroom and I haven't turned the light on, I stepped on him the other day. It was completely accidental, but I'm like, what did you think was going to happen? Like right in front of my feet. What he thought was going to happen was this was going to be worth it. I'll take one for the team. Master's going to go fall, hit his head on the corner of the dresser. And,
Dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
It's gone.
Some people say cats rule, dogs drool, but I'm going to flip that and say dogs rule and cats are evil and want to kill.
No, I like dogs. I do. I just my current situation in traveling too much is just too difficult to have one, unfortunately. So the cat is very low maintenance. You just throw food out there and say eat. So anyways, now the half percenters that are still left, thank you for joining us. Until next time, my name's Joe. His name's Brian. And as always, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.